You're listening to Business Marketing Show, episode number 8. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com or on iTunes.
Welcome to the Business Marketing Show. I am your host, Brendan Tully, here with my co-host, Ed K. Smith. How are you today, Ed?
Excellent, Brendan. How are you? You're in a hotel lobby, apparently.
I am. So there's some canned music going on in the background. There's the pool sounds and children running around. So yes.
That's good. That's the internet lifestyle, isn't it? Being able to travel and do podcasts at the same time. So
for sure. Yes.
So awesome stuff. So tell us what we're going to be talking about today.
So today we're going to talk about email marketing. So a lot of people, particularly small business owners, don't realize the power of email marketing. And one thing that we both say in workshops is email marketing strategy before social media, which a lot of people are surprised about because not so much these days, but a few years ago, 2010, 2011, everything was about social media and there were so many social media consultants and you had to be on Facebook and had to be on Twitter, which is not necessarily correct. And I would say that before you even think about Facebook or Twitter, you should think about email marketing. It is probably the cheapest form of marketing you have and one of the most powerful. And in terms of eyeballs, if you compare Facebook or Twitter or any other social media platform, Pinterest or whatever it is, to be on those platforms, you need an email address. And I would say that, people talk about Facebook engagement and people spend an average of half an hour a day on Facebook or whatever. I'd say people spend hours a day in their inbox, which I know I do. I spend at least an hour or two a day doing email. So That's what this episode is all about. We've got 6 kind of key points talking about email marketing and how to get started and how to do it better. Most people do a rubbish job of email marketing, which is why they don't see it working or as a good email marketing channel. But I think if we can get our listeners to implement these tips and these key points, then they'll see dramatically more success from their email marketing activities.
Yes, and that it is all about being consistent with your email marketing. And I think the thing that people have to remember with email marketing is you control the list. You control who's on that list and you control when you market to them. And you're not in danger of having your system or account shut down like you can be with Facebook or any other platform that you don't control. So, and it's a saleable asset. You everything you put on Facebook belongs to Facebook. Read the terms and conditions, guys. So the content you put on there is not your own. You think it is, but it isn't. So the stuff that you do in email marketing is your own. You control it. You can divvy up your list. You can sell your list if you want to a business. If you're selling your company, whatever it is, it's a very valuable asset. So fantastic thing to realise that it's worthwhile getting right.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just about broadcast emails or a lot of people, they see big brands doing email marketing and they try and emulate that. And the truth is that most big brands are shit at email marketing.
Yes.
They don't know how to do it so well, or they're not that successful, or they do a particular type of email marketing that doesn't really work in a smaller business kind of setting. So there's so much, people have a lot of assumptions, incorrect assumptions around email marketing. We see it in the workshops all the time. And there's also, it really annoys me because there's been so many social media consultants, and they push Facebook as some magic bullet that, if you get Facebook right, you're going to be an instant millionaire, which is not true. No. But when it comes to email marketing, you can make email marketing successful without even having a website. And that's how powerful it is. So,
yes.
So should we get into it?
Yeah, get into it. What's the first point that we've got to mention?
All right. So the first thing, if you're going to do email marketing, you need a tool that is a dedicated email marketing tool. So there's lots of tools out there in the marketplace. A lot of websites, CMSs can do email marketing. They have it built into their functionality. But I would suggest if you're new to this, getting started, MailChimp is the tool you should be looking at. It's probably one of the most popular email marketing tools in the world, and it's also free for up to, I think it's 2,000 people on your email list. And you can send 12,000 emails a month to them or something like that. So in terms of, particularly for a small business, that's absolutely where you should start. And it's really easy, and it's DIY, and you can get in there and make templates and stuff without needing a whole bunch of design and development.
Yeah, and lots of good support for WordPress. They have a WordPress plugin, so if you're running a WordPress site, it's easy to integrate into the site, and also integrates into other automated marketing platforms like Infusionsoft and various other tools. So
and there's a whole bunch of other reasons why you should use it, not just because it's free, but other reasons like if you're in a corporate environment where you have like an Exchange server or a standard kind of corporate email environment, if you send 2,000 emails from your personal email address from your Outlook or whatever it is, it's highly likely a lot of them aren't going to be delivered. Your server or your email domain might be marked as spam, so that's going to affect any other email sent after that. And there's no automated way for people to get off your list. So you actually legally have to allow people to unsubscribe from your list, at least in Australia and in the US. We're not lawyers, so different countries have different rules, but certainly in the US and Australia, you legally have to allow people to get off the list.
Absolutely. So check out MailChimp, mailchimp.com. That'll be in the show notes. Unlike a client of mine who was looking at MALE, as in the male version of a chimp, which they couldn't find the website looking at that address. So it is mail as in email chimp. Another option, just to give people another option, is Aweber, AWEBER.com. That's another very popular email autoresponder system that's been around for about 12, 13 years now. So check that out if you want to look at that. Probably not quite as user-friendly. It's getting better. It's maybe a bit more techy than MailChimp, but still a good option. So, yes, definitely, number one, need to have the right tools to do this for you, and it does make it very easy to manage. Once you've set up certain...
If you want advanced, so we use Infusionsoft.
Sorry, you cut out there, Brendan.
Yeah, hello?
Hello, you there?
Yeah, I lost you there. Sorry, I'm back.
You're back. Yep. You said so. You use Infusionsoft. Yep.
Yeah. So we use Infusionsoft, which would be, I'd say, an advanced email tool. It's more of a marketing automation platform. But I'm just going to say, in terms of cost, at the MailChimp level, once you're over the free plan, once you're over the 2,000 users, typically most clients we have on it are paying somewhere between $50 to $200 a month. So I have two instances of Infusionsoft for two different businesses. So one of them we pay nearly $500 a month. The other one we pay $300 a month. And people think that sounds expensive, but I can tell you right now, we easily make that money back. So for the search engine shop business, every time I send an email out, I get one new client or one new big sale. So, I don't even need to look at the stats. I just know as soon as I send those emails, the phone starts ringing. For one of our e-commerce clients who's spending about $180 a month on MailChimp, every time they do a mail out, they do around $5,000 in extra sales. So
wow, yeah.
There's a tendency to look at the cost and say, wow, that's a lot of money. But if you make these tools work, the cost is nothing really.
Yeah, I mean, I find it funny because it's really no different to looking at a car, and the car could be the analogy of your website, and the car needs petrol to run. So if you don't actually have any petrol in your car, how the hell is it going to work? So email marketing is one of those things you've got to put petrol in your car, and that's one of the tools that you need to do it.
For sure. Okay, next point. I've got here, less formatting is better than more formatting.
Hello?
No. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Does it keep cutting out for you or something? Or?
It just cut out. Okay, so next point I have is less formatting is better than more formatting. Yep. I see a tendency when people first start doing email marketing is they see all these fancy templates and they shove as much formatting and colors and graphics and different text into the email as possible.
Yeah. Not a good idea.
Which is a bad idea. So
not a good idea.
Number one, yeah, number one, the formatting breaks most of the time. So if you have fancy formatting, email isn't really designed for advanced formatting and columns and all this sort of stuff. And number two, it takes a lot longer to do the email. It just ends up looking like a bit of a mess. So the less formatting, better. So in your regular day-to-day emails, you probably don't have a huge amount of formatting. You might have an attachment, one image. So when we send the emails, the most successful emails we see are very simple. They're just simple text with maybe one or two images to highlight what we're talking about, but not a massive amount of formatting or colors or anything else. What do you think, Ed?
Absolutely. Sorry, just took in a bit. We're not having much luck today. Took in a big suck of air there. I'll edit that out in a sec. I've got a lot of editing to do, Brendan. No one's hearing this because I'll cut it out. But anyway, yes, I agree in the sense that if I look back at the history of how I interact with email and how clients have interacted with email, the ones that get the best response are standard text emails, not fancy graphics, because again, you got to keep it simple. The more flash and fancy stuff you have, the more there is for people to be distracted from the actual message of the email. So I've spent more money with different people on standard layout text emails than I have with anything that's a fancy graphic type email. That's just me, and I think that's fairly common in the industry. So.
For sure. And that kind of brings us to our next point, that instead of trying to be a corporate kind of really wordsmithed email, you're better off writing it as a personal email. In fact, you're better off when you write it directly to the recipient. Talk about you and I, rather than when you write it, have the perception that a lot of people are reading it. So if you write it in that kind of first person perspective, like you're just writing to one individual, it will work a lot better. If you're writing just an email out of your inbox, you're not going to have a whole bunch of formatting anyway. And if you write it like a personal email, it won't come off as a big kind of marketing mail out like a lot of those corporate emails do.
Yeah.
The people they get so many, they just switch off. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think with emails, it's really important, and I know this is my experience with stuff I get from different places, is you need to have a ratio of value per pitch that's pretty high. So the emails that you're sending through to people who sign up to your list, it needs to be stuff that's getting sent to them, and it's not just trying to flog something to them. You need to provide them with value on a consistent basis. So when it does come time to actually promoting something, they're going to pay a lot more attention to what you're saying, because it's not just another pitch, another pitch, another pitch. So save your pitches for special times when you're doing your promotions, and when you do send other emails out, make sure they're of value. It could be just a tips email, or it could just be something you've noticed in a particular industry. So something that's current.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, don't use discounts all the time. Like big companies, big retailers use discounts all the time, and people are now, they've used sales and discounts so often that people are just immune to them. People are actually waiting for the sale to come before they buy. So it's actually had the reverse effect. So
yes,
totally agree that it needs to be about adding value. If we come back to thinking of it as if you're writing a personal email, you wouldn't email the same customer every week and say, here's a discount, here's a discount, here's a discount, hey, buy my stuff. The world doesn't work like that, and you'll lose subscribers very quickly if you do that.
Very true. Next point.
Next one. Okay, so there's some key areas that when you're sending these emails that you need to pay attention to, and making sure having these, I guess, optimized will make your email marketing perform significantly better. So the first one I have is the subject line. So the subject is effectively what gets people to open the email. So having something bland and boring in there, like May 2014 newsletter, that's going to kind of turn me off instantly. You're better off having something, you can think about it like a newspaper. Newspaper headlines grab attention. So that's the purpose of the subject in your email marketing. So we've tested all sorts of subjects like, hey, how's it going? Thought you might like this. Very casual email subjects seem to work better than something that's really corporate-y and boring and boilerplate newslettery kind of thing. So
Yeah.
The subject really needs to grab attention and entice people to look at the email. And a lot of the times we'll write the subject in all lowercase, because often when you're writing a personal email, you'll be lazy and do that. So
Yeah.
again,
Absolutely. It does come down to good ad copy, good advertising principles, and following those sorts of strategies, because really it's no different to an ad. The headline or the subject line in terms of email is what's going to get people to open it and not. I still remember a funny ad that I read once when I was in the real estate game. I think everyone's been in the real estate game at some stage in their life, but anyway.
I didn't know you were in real estate.
Yeah, well, I actually sold new homes for 2 years,
Wow.
and I sold real estate for about a year or so. So 3 years in the housing real estate market game. So that was fun. But I do remember a headline that read, "Granny's dead." And it was in a deceased estate sale of this particular house, but it was, Granny's dead. It was the headline. And look, who is not going to read the rest of it after you read Granny's dead with an exclamation mark at the end of it, So sometimes they can be funny. Sometimes, they can be to a point where the curiosity factor of the subject line is so great that people just have to open it. The danger with that is you have to follow through with what you then write after that, because if it's a headline that tricks people into opening your email, and then when they get into the email it's just more fluff and rubbish or sales pitches that aren't congruent with what you're talking about, then you end up shooting yourself in the foot. So be clever with your subject lines, but make sure the rest of the email is clever as well and has a strong point to it. So,
yeah. Okay, so subject line was one of the areas. The from section is another important one. So a lot of people put from. So what I mean by the from section is when it appears in someone's inbox who it says the email is actually from. So a lot of people put in just their business name, which again is, instantly just turns me off reading your email. You're better off to put a personal name in there, because I read emails from people, not from corporations, I guess, in effect. So you'd be better off putting your name dash the business name. So typically when I do our emails, it says Brendan from the search engine shop as the sender. And I also send it from an email address that gets replied to. Yeah. It's crazy that I see, emails coming from no reply at
I hate that.
businessname.com. It's like, well, you want me to do, you're not willing to answer my email if I reply back. Like, that's crazy. So I always send, when I do our search engine shop ones, they come from Brendan at the search engine shop. And I ask people to reply. I invite them to reply at the bottom of the email. If they have a question or they have a query, they can hit the reply button on the email marketing and send me an email directly. Like, it seems so common sense, but so many people miss that. Yeah,
it's a funny thing in this day and age, and because the whole internet process, a lot of people can do things so they're sort of automated, and you potentially could have less customer contact. I think people forget that one of the most important things in any business, in sales and marketing, is customer contact. And if you get rid of another way of a customer getting in touch with you that could potentially lead to engagement and a sale, then you've just lost another path of income. So I agree. You need to be able to get back to people, or have it so that people can get back to you, I should say, on your email. Because otherwise, what's the point? If there's no other, system on that email for them to make contact with you, then you've lost an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the next one I have is, so the last one is, don't use the mail merge. Don't use the dear first name. And the reason why I say that is because people put all sorts of junk in that first name field. They'll put their first name and their last name. They'll be all lowercase. It looks unprofessional. They'll put their email address. So in most email databases that I've seen, I'd say 30 to 40% of the data in that first name field is rubbish. Which means if you're using a mail merge where it says dear first name, it's going to turn people off immediately, because it just will look unprofessional. So you're better off not to use it and instead introduce yourself. So most of my emails go out with the first line as, hey, it's Brendan from the search engine shop here, or something similar. But yeah, we're really trying to avoid turning people off. And
Yeah.
Once they see that it's a corporate email, their brain kind of goes into automatic mode and they'll just ignore your email or discard it or give it less attention. So that's really what we're trying to avoid. So that's the subject line, the from line, and not using the mail merge. The whole purpose is to get people to actually read the email.
Yeah, and look, I often get ones that come through to me where for some unknown reason they've chosen to use the surname as the bit after hi. So it's Hi K Smith or, and I'm going, that is so bad. That just, you don't say hi and someone's surname. It just doesn't make sense. But yet so many businesses for some reason decide to use that as their information they're using for that section. So I agree, it's definitely better just to be casual and say, hi, it's Brendan, or hi, whoever you are. So
yeah. Okay, so the last two are kind of together. So email marketing isn't just broadcast email. So it's not just newsletters or a monthly mail out. There's a lot of different ways to use email marketing. For example, abandoned cart emails are one way to use it that is very powerful, and we'll link to an example in the show notes. But that's effectively when someone puts together a shopping cart on your website, gets halfway through and doesn't complete the checkout. You can set up a system where it will send them an email asking them what's wrong. So that's another example of how you could use email marketing. And then the flip side to that is you need some way for people to get onto the list. So in that example with the abandoned cart email, the shopping cart system will add them onto a specific list for that. If it's a newsletter broadcast, typically it's, you have an opt-in on the website or you send it to the past customer or something like that. So those are the two things that tie together. It's not just broadcast email. So think of all the different contact points in your website or your business where email marketing would be effective. It might be following up, confirming an appointment, confirming a booking, something like that, and how people get onto those specific lists, or what's the trigger for people getting onto those lists or those emails going out.
Yeah, very, very powerful because you can control your message to each of those segments. And I've bought things because of the abandoned shopping cart email coming through, where I've gotten to that point. And sometimes it's just because people get interrupted. Someone knocks at their door or the phone rings, and they were at the point they were going to buy, but then they didn't. And it wasn't because they didn't want to buy your product or service; something happened. So having that come back through sort of puts them back on track again. And you can choose how you want to get them back on track. It could be some sort of value-added offer, or it could be a discount, or whatever it is. So,
yeah, other common ones as well. Even just simple in the e-commerce world, simple order emails. Just going through and optimizing that, and when people order something from you, the system sends out an email automatically, and often they'll have questions about how long the order takes to get processed, for example, things like that. And just adding that information into the email can cut down your customer service time significantly because you've answered the question in advance. So
yeah. So
as an exercise, going through all the emails that automatically come out of your business and just reviewing them can, cut a lot of time or increase a lot of efficiency.
Awesome. Very, very cool.
So that's it. That's all I have.
That's it. There is
probably being consistent is another one as well. If you're doing broadcast emails, doing them, if you do them monthly or weekly or whatever, just making sure they get done, right?
Yeah, and that's a very good question, and that's one that I get asked a lot: is how often should you email? And I think, in my experience, if you're only emailing every couple of months, then you may as well not bother. It needs to be consistent, and with some businesses, whatever the offer is you're putting out there, and what people are signing up for, a daily email is relevant if that's what you've offered them. Weekly, monthly, but really, I think you still need to be very consistent. I think monthly would be a minimum. I would say at least every couple of weeks. But if you've got the information and you've got the content, and it's not going to kill you, then a daily email, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, it just depends on the circumstance, right, and the business. Like, even there's some businesses where only a yearly email is probably applicable, like if they're a seasonal business that they only operate at Christmas or Easter, something like that. So
yeah, I think for those who don't understand what a sequential email autoresponder is, once you've settled those different emails up into your system. So we're not talking about broadcasting emails. So just you may have something that's just happened or some topical event or news related. That would be a broadcast, and you just send that out to whoever you want to on your list at that moment in time. But having a sequence of emails and a sequence of training or a sequence of tips, hints and tips, etc. Once you've set that up in your email autoresponder, as in MailChimp or Aweber, that's happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. At whatever point the new person comes into that list, they'll get email 1 in that sequence. And that can happen whether you're travelling around the world, whether you're in hospital, or once you've set it up, they can consistently get those emails. So it's working for you every day.
Yeah, and we'll put an example in the show notes to an autoresponder.
Awesome. And all for for most people listening to this, probably they can get away with some of the free components, but even if they're paying for the first level of either of those systems, it's $15-20 a month or something. So the leverage and power that it can bring you, it's a ridiculously small amount of money to pay to get that access, because you can't use your system at home. You can't use Outlook or Gmail. They're not set up to do that type of thing.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, that's a good intro to email marketing, email autoresponders in particular.
Yep.
It's obviously a bigger subject than that. We can talk about lots of nuances and go further, but we'll save that for another time. Anything else, Brendan, before we finish?
That's it, Ed. Just really got to do it. Do it consistently. Pay attention to those few things that matter. Write them like personal emails and stop trying to just shove stuff down people's throats, I guess. Yeah,
it really comes down to treat people on your email system as you would like to be treated from other people's email systems. So why would you have it in your mind that people are going to react differently? And most people don't like getting spammy type emails or offers that are not relevant or valuable to them shoved down their throat every minute of the day. I think I went through last week, I unsubscribed to probably about 15 or 20 email autoresponder systems from people the other day because of that very reason. And I was like, I'm not listening to this anymore. So I hit the unsubscribe button. So people don't have time, so they're very finicky.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you get back to your the cafe that you're in the hotel.
Thanks, buddy.
And you can enjoy a cup of coffee or tea.
I'm having some green tea.
Very good. The healthy choice.
I guess so, yeah.
All right, thanks, Brendan. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thanks, buddy. See ya.
Cheers. Bye. You've been listening to Business Marketing Show. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com or on iTunes. Just look for Business Marketing Show.